Welcome to Subramani. I'm going to talk to you about a word called loss, LOSS. Especially if you have been brought up in India, I do not know how it is abroad, but the minute you hear the word loss, you think it is some personal mistake that you made or something like that, and so we don't like to acknowledge loss. Forget making loss, that the market will ensure that you and me will make some loss in some transaction. There's no doubt about that. But we don't acknowledge the loss as a part of the activity, right? So you buy 10 shares, it's not in all 10 that you will make money. If you're investing in a mutual fund, if you have picked up the right manager over long periods of time, you will do well, do badly, whatever. Similarly, in your portfolio, if you have got 10 shares or 20 shares or whatever, 30 shares, it's not that everything will do well and everything will always make a profit. That does not really happen. So let us look at whether we understand loss. You bought a share at 10 rupees and you held on for 5 years and you sold it off at 12 rupees. You've actually made a loss in terms of opportunity, in terms of inflation, etc., etc. But you don't even think that's a loss. You say, oh, I bought it for 10, I sold it for 12, but after 5 years. Right? So in 5 years, if your money has not doubled, you've not even got 14% return. I'm not saying 14 is good or bad, but at least over 6 years, it should have doubled. You held it for 5 years and sold it for 12 rupees. So you've not really made money, you have actually made a loss. But the loss which is visible is when you buy it for 10 rupees and it goes to 8 rupees, then you think it's a loss. But when you buy for 10 rupees and it goes to 12 rupees and stays there for 6 years, you don't think it's a loss. You say, I did not make much money, but I did not lose money. Boss, you actually lost money. You actually lost money in that. So it's okay to lose money. It's not something wrong. So if you don't understand the time value of money, every transaction can look very profitable, even though you have actually not made any money on that transaction. Another thing is we don't acknowledge the loss. We look at the loss and say, no, I think the company is very good. I bought CARE rating at 528 or 530. Then it kept on coming down. I think it's now 420 or so. So I lost $100. That's why I've lost 20%. Do I have the guts to sell and say something is wrong with my research, something is wrong with maybe I got into the right business but wrong price, something, so I should sell and wait for the market to do whatever it wants to do. Instead, I keep saying, no, that is FII selling, it's actually a good share, look at the cash flow. I keep deluding myself that there is no loss. There is a loss. The only thing is I'm not acknowledging it. The third type of loss is people who I call the holder during the recession. So they buy a share for say 25 rupees and then it goes down to 20, 18, 17, 16, 15, whatever, and then it stays there for 5, 6, 7 years. Then one day it goes up to 26 or 27 and you sell off and you say, wow, I did not make a loss. I sold above my cost. Yes, but what is the cost of failure? What is the cost of staying for 5 years, 6 years without getting a return? And you did not sell only because it was below your cost. Whereas when you bought it at 25 and you saw that it went down to 15 for whatever reasons, I'm not even naming the share, maybe it was time to sell out and move on that day, but you held on for 15 at the price of 15, refusing to sell it for 5 years or 7 years, in which time even in the National Savings Certificate maybe your money would have doubled, right? So holding on to the loss and not refusing to acknowledge it is also bad from a tax point of view. If you had sold it off, let's say in 2017 or 2018, if you had sold it off, you would have claimed a set-off against your short-term capital gains, and short-term capital loss would have been set off, and that would have been great. You would have paid less taxes. Instead, you held on and you did not sell. What really causes losses is something very simple. It's our ego. Our ego says, how can I be wrong? How can I be wrong about CARE rating? I understand business, I understand finance, I understand that rating business will go up when the market cycle turns, etc., etc., etc. So I'm constantly berating myself, I'm kicking myself, and I have nobody else to blame. Now, if I had invested that in a mutual fund and the NAV had fallen, I would have said, oh, the fund manager is doing a bad job. In CARE, I bought the share, I am supposed to have done the research, I read about it, and I'm still losing money. So it's an ego problem to admit that I made the loss, in spite of the fact there are 10 other transactions where I made a profit, and my ego says, wow, you're a genius, how can you make mistakes? Because I think not only should my portfolio go up, but every share in my portfolio should go up. This never happens. Whatever you do, which if it actually happens, it means you're taking less risk. The other worry for me at this stage is we have had a very easy bull run for a very long time, right? Anything that you bought went up. If you sold instead of buying, you made a mistake. So you were traveling by train or plane or somebody, and somebody was talking about, I think Bannari is a good buy. So you came home and you bought Bannari spinning mills and you made money. Actually, those people were talking about Bannari sugar. So you should have bought Bannari sugar on a hearsay like this. You may have made more money, you may have made less money, you may have lost money, but you had no research or anything. You did it and you made money. After you make money, you justify saying, oh, spinning is actually doing well. You actually had no clue. You just bought and you made money. And your ego tells you, see, you're a genius. You can pick up anything and make money. You're not the genius. The genius is the market. Right, you're carrying a ego here on your head. You're carrying something called the market. It is the market which is making money for you, losing money for you. Of course, you're doing your research. You're not buying a GTL infrastructure at 1 rupee 40 paisa and trying to make money. Maybe you'll make money there also. So whenever I quote these scripts, it is just out of seeing them at 1 rupee 40 paisa or 1 rupee 82 paisa or something like that. So I don't like penny stocks. It's not that I don't buy them, but I don't like penny stocks. So therefore, I don't try to buy them in a longish bull run, because it may just have finished its run journey and I may be stuck. I may be helping somebody else book their profits or their losses. So I would not buy GTL infrastructure, but I'm just I bought. I should have logically accepted my loss and moved on, but I've actually averaged more. I bought more and I think it's a good business. So therefore I'm holding on, right? So it's not right or wrong. The question is, and also people don't like to sell, because I bought it for, it's forever, right? Warren Buffett has taught us that businesses that you buy should be forever. How can you lose just because? How can you sell just because you're losing money? But then you're forgetting another rule by Buffett, which says rule number 1 is don't make losses, and rule number 2 is to remember that. Here again, I would like to say that what I think Buffett means is, over long periods of time, you should not lose money on your portfolios. Any portfolio, could be equity, debt portfolio, gold, paintings, whatever you want. Over long periods of money, you should get a return which is greater than inflation and post-tax, right? So you should get a real return after taxation and inflation. That is what I think broadly he means. He does not mean you buy a share at 10 rupees, hold it on for 22 years and sell it for 11 rupees and say, I did not make a loss. Of course you made a loss, right? You have not acknowledged the loss. Maybe you should have acknowledged the loss 22 years ago, or maybe 21 years ago, or at least 18 years ago. You have not acknowledged the loss. So first of all, if you think all your success is because of your skills, then you are bringing your ego into your investing. When you bring ego into your business, into your consulting, into your anywhere, if you bring ego, then you will get ruined, because if you see, we have had a pretty longish bull run, and we don't even know whether now we are entering a bear market or it's a bull market correction. So I'm not even commenting on that. But if you have had a series of success, you're building yourself for failure. That's another thing to worry about. You can fail and build success. You can succeed and build failure, right? I think it's in the Millionaire Next Door book, some book, I don't remember where. That is so true, because today in the market, the last say 6-8 months, 1 year, maybe in the last, not the last 3-4 months, but prior to that, anything that you bought on Monday, you could have sold on Friday and made profits. And you think, wow, I'm great. You're not great. It was a bull run where everybody made money, right? So everybody made money. Now maybe it's more difficult to make money, or maybe there is a sector rotation. So you bought sugar, you sold sugar, you made money, and now maybe it's time that you buy something else, right? You bought steel, you made money. You bought Vedanta, again steel, copper, aluminium, you made money. You bought Hindalco, you made money. You Tata Steel, JSW, it didn't matter. You just picked up some commodities and that commodity made money. You made money on oil, you made money on steel, you made money on gold, you made money on sugar, right? All the commodities were up. But commodities by definition go up because the prices of commodities have gone up, the demand goes down, and therefore the price comes down. So commodities go through this cycle. Unlike say an automobile, in India automobile is not really very cyclical. But you bought something, you made money, and now you think that the same thing will make you more money. So let me just give you an example of a friend. Tata Power was quoting at 30 rupees when I had decided that a Tata Group company, a group share with a 5% dividend yield can't be too bad, right? At 30 rupees it can't go below that. So I called up a friend of mine who invests, and I said, what does Tata Power look like? So he said, wow, it's a great share. I made a lot of money shorting it. I sold it at 80, 70, 60. I bought put options. So at 30, I closed my transaction and I made a lot of money. So I said, what are you going to do now? So he said, I'm going to short again. I said, hold on. Will a Tata Group company with a 5% dividend yield in an infrastructure project where, supposedly there's a lot of money going in, will this go to zero? Because that is your maximum money that you can make. When you short a share at 30 rupees, it has to be covered at zero for you to make 30 rupees. I said, do you think it will go to zero? He said, no, I don't know. So I said, based on my research, I think you should buy Tata Power and not sell Tata Power. So I went and bought an X number of shares, but he bought 50x what I bought. So let's say I bought one share, he bought 50 shares. And after 5 days, he sold it off at 40 or 38 or something like that and said, thank God, I listened to you and I went long. I said, you went long for too short. Go and buy again and stay for a longer period. So he said, what price to sell? I said, it will be terribly overpriced at 200. But you may be able to wait. So he again bought a huge quantity and he waited and he sold off at various prices. So he made money. So same share, you may have to use a different strategy. A different share, you may be able to go short and make money. If you had gone short on Zomato at 160, you would have made money. If you had gone short in Paytm at whatever price it quoted at, I don't remember, you would have made money. But at the same time, if you had bought some other share which went up, you would have made money. So different points of time, you need different strategies. You do not know how the tide is changing. All these things go into making your overall portfolio. So it's very carefully created, structured in your portfolio of saying what to buy if there is COVID, what to buy if post-COVID, right? So maybe you have sold off all your airline and hotels saying no, COVID is coming back, and you realize no, COVID may not be coming back, so you may be buying the same thing. So the same share which you bought for X price, you sold at Y, and after some time you find that the prices come down, your strategy still is in place, your research is in place, you go and buy the same thing. All this is okay. What is important is being able to book your losses as quickly as you can, and that's been my skill, and letting your profits run long. So when you read a Buffett saying don't make losses and remember rule number 1, try to understand what he means rather than just believing, oh, I should never make losses. If you think you should never make losses and you don't understand real return, be in a fixed deposit, or even better, be in a savings bank account. That's even better. Thank you. Bye.